My mind is blown away right now. This is incredible. Okay. Wow. 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 And freaking wow. So I believe what's going on here is that just like a human, it went off and it wrote something that made perfect sense to it. And then it tried to use it and found out that there was a shortcoming. Like, that's a total mistake anybody could make. That's so human as to just kind of freak me out. It's doing all of this work in less time than I would be able to set up the server and set up some basic tables and data. I mean, this is absolutely the type of thing that I might have had in my mind, but I didn't describe it this succinctly. I mean, wow. What's going on, friends of AI? Sean J. Burke here. Let's talk about some quality engineering. I've been doing the software thing for a really long time. So people often come to me when they want to kind of know whether something works well or not. And today someone came up and told me about Replit. And I was like, well, what the heck is this thing all about? And apparently this is one of those, no code, type in your prompt and you're going to get everything that you need. How well does it work? I don't really know. So I thought, let's record it and find out together. So I'll bring that website up in just a second. But as you can see in front of me here, I've got Gemini going on. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the AI to help me create a prompt to use a different set of AI. Let's see how it goes. I'm a software engineer, period. I have been doing software engineering for about 30 years. Some days, people will come and ask me about a new tool and what I think about it. Since we're in the world of AI, today someone came and asked me about a tool called Replit.com. Apparently, I can provide it a prompt and it's going to build an application for me, period. I'd like you to help me build out that prompt, period. I want to convey all these things about being a software engineer, period. Then I want to let it know that I want to build an application that houses information about human beings, period. I might call it a people store, period. The thought being that any application you have has a need to store data about human beings. There's lots of different reasons for this. And I would say that it's grown into a challenge where not only do you have to store the data, but you have to take updates from multiple different sources, track those updates, and then sometimes determine which one's right. By that, I mean two systems may send in an update simultaneously or one right after the other. And if they're different, how do we determine which one is correct? I'd want this application to have an API available that would allow me to get information on the humans or set information on the humans. I want the API to be in a REST style. I want the system to have some reporting available. I want to see how many people exist in the system and analyze that data. Maybe see how many people live in a particular part of the world, the United States, within a state, those type of demographic information, period. When I say demographic information, it makes me think about what we should store on the humans as well, period. We want to have all first name, last name, phone numbers, emails, addresses where they lived, the ability to keep that history over time, period. But we want it to be universal, period. We want to deal with things where some cultures don't have first and last names the same way we do here in the United States. I want to look for examples of unique names so that we can make them part of the test criteria. Could you give me a prompt for a system that builds software with all this criteria? All right, I'm not going to lie. This is kind of fun for me. I've never used Gemini to create a prompt to put in another system, and I'm just kind of curious to see how it comes out. I might even say that to some degree, I'm taking an approach here that I have to learn to let the AI do more for me. That's what it's great at. Where sometimes I want to drive the ship because I've been doing it that way for so long. So, all right, let's see what we got back here. That's fascinating. First off, the first line's not rapping. That's weird. I didn't expect that the system was going to break it into bullet points. That's pretty useful. Okay. I mean, this sounds kind of neat. I certainly am interested to see what will come of it. So, where's my little fancy button so that I can copy and paste all of this answer? Am I going to have to do it the old school way here? Apparently, I am. Let's build up this new system called Replit. Again, I don't know anything about this system other than my boss came to me with it from someone that she was speaking to. So I loaded up the website. I created an account with an email, and now I'm sitting here with you, going to see what it does for the very first time. So I'm going to, what did it do? It pasted as, how come I didn't just put the text in there? Like, I'm not the only one who thinks this is weird, right? All right. I expected it to paste it as text. It looks like it takes it like a file. I'm just going to hit the start building and see what happens. Okay, so we're seeing some thought by the AI. It's giving us some kind of its internal analysis. Do I want any additional features? Well, heck yeah, I want all of those. Oh my gosh. This is really going to be amazing to a guy who's been writing software for so long. It might take 10 minutes for the first app version. I mean, this is incredible. All right. So in the background, I can see little bits going by. It almost looks like it's building an HTML page or something like that, or a style sheet, something in the background. Oh my God. I mean, that's really neat. My mind is blown away right now. This is incredible. I mean, this is absolutely the type of thing that I might have had in my mind, but I didn't describe it this succinctly. Holy moly. I mean, um, um, wow. And I guess I can scroll through this a little bit. Okay, on the left-hand side here, I find this very interesting as well, that it says it kind of created this initial checkpoint, and I noticed this little button about roll back to here. So it would seem to infer that it's creating some versioning as it's doing this sort of thing. which again is a great thing. One of the things that I'm going to be wondering about as we go to do this is what's going to be the ability to update this application. I definitely have a problem that I think about coding like a human being. So I think about all the years of good code structure and coding rules and all that sort of thing that went into it. And, the AI doesn't need any of that. I have on many occasions said that the AI is happy to have one file with a million lines of code in it, doesn't cause it any problem whatsoever. Probably even thinks it's more efficient, right? I can just read it all real quick. But as a human being, that's not necessary. So do you just trust that the AI is doing its sort of thing? Do I abandon my need to see it in a typical structure? Or am I wrong and it'll spit it out in a typical structure that I can understand? I think what's important to me is that I'm now using AI to build the code, and that's fine. But there's kind of a trust transition that needs to occur. I need to actually feel confident that it's really going to build me what it is I need and that it'll be maintainable and reliable over time. The idea of low code or no code has existed long before AI was here. And one of the problems I have found with it is it just doesn't deliver on the promise quite as well as you would want it to. And especially when it comes to flexibility and maintenance and updates, it's just been a little bit of a challenge over time. So will this be different? I certainly am hoping that it will. You can see that it's creating what looks like a couple of different TypeScript files. I didn't make any specification about what type of code I wanted to do this in. I don't even know that it's an option, although I'm going to guess that something this robust has a few options like that. And, just trying to solve that problem between taking the classical way that I think about software, not only building it, but maintaining it and changing it over to something new. It just takes some time to shift those paradigms. A really impressive UI though, right off the bat. I am not a UI person. I'm much more of a back end person. Now I've been doing this for a long time. So I've built apps with UIs for all sorts of different things, including, Angular and that sort of stuff. It's just not my wheelhouse. So it'll take me a long time to do something someone experienced in it can do in a couple seconds. Well, maybe in a few hours. And apparently what the AI can do in 2 minutes. So very interesting, not only what it's outputting, but how I am having to rethink things that are just a core part of who I am and how I build software in this new age of AI. Pretty exciting stuff. And we're back. So I had to step away. Life happens. But let's see what's going on with this Replit application. Now, it looks like it went into kind of a sleep mode here. So I'm going to start by hitting run again, putting the project back up. And you can see on the left-hand side here, it's asking us some questions about what it built. So let's take a look at that. Actually, let me put on my AI voice and I'll just read it here. I've started a robust people store application that serves as a central repository for human data. The application includes features for storing various types of personal information with versioning, conflict resolution, and a RESTful API. Which, honestly, folks, in 10 minutes when I typed a prompt is just stunning to me. Back to the bullets. AI voice. Create a data schema with comprehensive models for people, phone numbers, emails, addresses, and payment info. Implemented in-memory storage with CRUD operations for all data types. Built REST API endpoints for all data operations. Developed dashboard with analytics, geographic distribution, and recent updates. Added people management with search and filtering. Can you access the application and navigate through different sections? How do you find the overall design and functionality? Does the dashboard load properly showing analytic cards visualizations? So, as we wait for this to get running again, overall, I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing here. So we wait for this to come back up. Let's start getting our message ready back for the agent. So what did it ask me? The application is very nice, intuitive for the type of features I would expect. When it first loaded, all the widgets displayed data and looked great. Right now, things like top country are not displaying data, but maybe that's the next step. All right, so I'm still waiting for this to kind of start back up again. I'm kind of take a look here. Oh, maybe it is running. I had on my mind that it doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and send in our message. Not fully sure. Oh, this is the screenshot of the dashboard, and there's a console. Oh, so that's just a screenshot. Previously, it was showing like an interactive display. So probably just me getting familiar with the application. Let's see what it's saying back to us here. Thank you for the positive feedback. You're absolutely right. The application is displaying correctly, but there's no data yet because we have added any people to the system. This is the next logical step in our development. Dashboard is designed to display real data rather than mock information. Currently, all the analytics cards, geographical distribution, and other visualizations are properly connecting to the API endpoints, but returning empty data sets since there are no records in the memory storage yet. Would you like me to add some data to the system to populate the dashboard and demonstrate the visualizations, walk you through how to add data manually through the add person functionality, enhance a specific area of the application that you're most interested in? The add person button on the dashboard or people page will let you create new records with contact details, addresses, and payment information. Once added, this data will flow through the analytics visualizations and make the dashboard come alive. So let's add a database like it's suggesting. Showing us some TypeScript code. People might refer to it as JavaScript, a little different. But in case this is new to you, looks like some initialization code for the database. It's going to use a Postgres SQL database. So if I wasn't, oh wow, it's even showing some kind of check-ins and check-outs here on this db.typescript file. Oh, this is the database connection file. Okay. So if I was doing this outside of AI, I would have started by installing this actual server, and I probably would have used some graphical tools in order to create the databases, create the database and then the tables within the database, and then eventually have written my own connection file and other infrastructure like this to stand the application up. So, I mean, I think I'd have to say that, it's doing all of this work in less time than I would be able to set up the server and set up some basic tables and data, even if you're fairly versed at it. Now, I'm still not 100% sure if this is going to be hosting my application for me or if it's going to produce a code package that I need to deploy somewhere else. I expect it's going to do all of the hosting for me, but it'll just be interesting to see as we kind of learn this overall system. Again, first reactions to it is very impressive. Okay, so just like cranking out files and showing them to me temporarily and moving on to the next thing. So there's clearly some environment somewhere that we're running on. It seems to be installing Postgres here through the Node Package Manager. Very typical thing to do. Maybe said another way, it's the same type of thing you would be doing yourself as a human being to set all of this up. I believe that it's kind of set up this REST Express, I'm going to infer probably for the API stuff. And then this TypeScript server kind of landing page. And it's got, I don't know why it's re-optimizing the dependencies because of the lock file. I'm not sure what's using a lock file for. That's a little old school to me, but hey, whatevs. And it's got it served up on port 5000, but it can't be running locally. Okay, and it says what it's going to do is implement some data into the database. Wait a minute, I forgot my AI voice, didn't I? Might have to get a better one, but let's workshop. Hello, Hal. Ooh, maybe we should go a little more like that. All right, let's try it. Now that we've implemented the PostgreSQL database, let's test it by creating a sample person to ensure that the data persists and appears on the dashboard. This will help us verify that the application is correctly using the database and that our visualizations will display the data as expected. Let me try to add some people data to the database using the API. I'll create a simple script to add a few people with various contact details to populate our database. So yeah, I mean, making a directory called scripts. So it's likely running some Linux agent container. Container is probably going to make more sense. I don't know though. So interesting. And so it's just cranking out this code. Okay, so it's creating some kind of hard-coded people, which is fine. We'll probably go back through when we want to performance test this, use Faker to really stick a lot of data in there. Like that it's got international data, so we can see different things. Very interesting. Oh. All right, what are we doing now? Ooh, reference error. So it still makes code errors, apparently. All right, back on the left-hand side, what's going on over here? It's creating scripts. Now let's install the node fetch package, create the tables, populate the database. So if I'm reading correctly here on the left-hand side, the error came because it tried to insert the person without a ID. And now it's creating a simpler script but it failed on the, oh, sorry, let me just read it. I see the issue. Our API is expecting person ID fields for the phone numbers, email addresses, and other contact details, but we can't provide those in the initial creation request because the person doesn't have an ID yet. Okay, wow. 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 And freaking wow. So I believe what's going on here is that just like a human, it went off and it wrote something that made perfect sense to it. And then it tried to use it and found out that there was a shortcoming, namely that the email addresses, those are going to be different tables than the individual person data. So they got to have a foreign key, primary key relationship, which doesn't exist because you have to insert the person first. Like, that's a total mistake anybody could make. And so if I'm reading this correctly, it then figured out, well, okay, I can't do that. I can't insert the phone numbers and addresses at the same time as the person. I got to insert the person first, make sure they have an ID, and then use that ID when I'm inserting email, phone, and the other related information, which, I mean, again, that's so human as to just kind of freak me out. There's something about watching too much Star Trek and things like that I simply expect the AI to get it right the first time every time. I don't know that it's a problem that it doesn't work like that. It's just my brain needing to wrap itself around the idea that it's going to act so much like a human being, it's going to make me laugh. I tried to insert it all at once and then figured out I didn't have the foreign keys I needed. I mean, like, what developer hasn't made that mistake before? All right, so now it's going through and it looks like it's inserting data into the API. These commands that are called curl, that's just sending the data to the API, kind of like you might use Postman or another, REST style tool like that. Some of the, well, it ran into another error again. Again, this is just boggling my mind because it's going through and it's making the same type of mistake somebody might make as a human being implementing this. And then it's just like, oh, what did I do wrong? And it analyzes it and troubleshoots it and refactors the code just like a human being. And again, there's just something about me that the mighty AI, I think it would get it right every single time. But no, it's so much like a human that I think it's important to recognize that, especially if what you're doing is even just some simple prompting inside a ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, whatever it is. Don't be afraid to interact with it, right? Ask it some questions. Heck, you can ask it if it's confident that it's right. You'd be surprised how much that might change the answer, and kind of have this interaction just like you would with a human, because it really is emulating that thought process. I'm not an expert on it, but as I've been learning all this sort of thing, I think it would be fair to say that, starting back with machine language, then we started creating things like neural networks to simulate, and that AI or generative AI through an LLM is leveraging some of that. And so I guess if it was trying to emulate a human brain, it really did that well, because it goes through and it does some work to the best of its knowledge, sometimes making a mistake, and it has to refactor it just like a human. Yeah, that's crazy to me. Well, my friends of quality engineering, what did you think about seeing the AI build an application? It's pretty impressive, huh? Now, of course, we all know that this is really an LLM, a large language model, but without a doubt, what we were able to accomplish in the amount of time that we gave it, especially when it comes to the focus on the graphical user interface on the front end, amazing to me. This has just been the first episode, though. What do we need to do to test this application? Do we still need test suites? Can we make changes to the application? Can we get it published to production? Look forward to these answers coming up in the next episodes of the Quality Engineering Podcast as AI builds an application.